I'm curious just to get your take. We had a lot of opt-outs and guys really utilizing the transfer portal last year with the COVID situation, the uncertainty of the season. Do you expect to see the opt-outs continue for guys that are maybe, big draft guys that maybe, they get through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, their team's out of it, they're not in the championship race anymore? Like, do you expect to continue to see that, or do you think that was more of a 1-year fad with the COVID situation?
I don't think it'll be as high as last year because COVID gave everyone an out.
Right.
It did. And nobody's going to be the person to criticize the person for opting out.
Right.
Though I do think it'll continue to a certain extent. I really do. And I think it's going to frustrate a lot of people because we've been told that these bowl games matter, and how much really matter, I don't know. We've seen guys who have been in situations where, you can go back to like the Nick Bosa thing, where that kind of really got the ball rolling with a guy who could have returned for a championship quality team and instead said, you know what, I'd rather just train for the NFL draft. And nobody knocked him for it, and it didn't necessarily hurt him. I mean, he's still a phenomenal player, and that didn't hurt him in that regard. And, the Jamar Chase thing, nobody's sitting here right now talking about whether or not Jamar Chase should have played this past season. They're talking about that 40 time. They're talking about how good he looks, despite the fact that he didn't play a season of football. So because we haven't seen that pushback, there's nothing to really de-incentivize it. Now, South Carolina was in a unique situation. If you're going to fire a head coach mid-season, you're going to experience that. And it wasn't a surprise at all when they had the mass exodus that they did. I think it's frustrating as a fan base to understand that is always a possibility. And if your coach is going to be fired mid-season, that's just a risk that you take. But I think that we'll see it in a different way. They're not necessarily going to have COVID to be able to fall back on. And, the Jamie Newmans of the world at Georgia, I don't think we're necessarily going to see quite situations like that. But it's not going anywhere until we figure out a way to kind of de-incentivize that. I think it's kind of here to stay.
Connor, I'm curious, were you surprised at the amount of firings last year? Because it's funny, when you and I talked, I think during the summer for sure, we went in the season, we thought, this is just a free year for everybody. It's a free pass. And I kept telling people, I was like, that's really easy to say in June and July and August, but you get into October and November and you're in the situation South Carolina's in, you're a 2-win team and you're getting the doors blown off you week after week. It's a lot harder to say, oh, it's just a free pass, whatever. But there were a lot of coaches that heads rolled last year. I mean, I think if it taught us anything, it's that, these schools might say money's a thing, but at the end of the day, I don't know how much I buy it. At least not for boosters. It's not. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. And I think it would have been different if they had to make these decisions back in June when the economy was in a different place as well. Because I think that's such a big part of it. As we know, booster momentum is everything. But yeah, I mean, the buyouts I did not expect that by any stretch of the imagination. I wrote before the season, Will Muschamp, Gus Malzahn, Derek Mason. I think those guys, it's going to be really difficult for their bosses to judge them on this year with all the moving pieces of COVID.
I remember you saying that. Yeah, I remember you saying that.
I was dead wrong. I did not expect this year.
all of them gone.
Everybody, just get them all out of here. I mean, it's pretty incredible to think, the SEC, we have 8 programs that have either first or second year coaches. There has been massive turnover in this league. 33 coaches in FBS last year who had buyouts of 8 figures or more. That's just the name of the game. And it's strange to see. And even at places like South Carolina, hey, if you're going to spend $50 million on a football facility, I guess you can spend 8 figures on a buyout even during a pandemic.